May 19, 1983. The night Springfield, Oregon was turned upside down.
It's emotional every time I think about it, to tell you the truth.
It's 10:48 p.m. at Mackenzie Willamette Hospital.
My kids! Please!
You know, it was just beyond sad.
Please! Somebody get my kids!
A family car has become an ambulance.
I got a call, said, get back to the hospital. Some children have been shot.
It is every mother's nightmare. 3 children gunned down by a complete stranger. Single mom Diane Downs is also shot in the arm.
There were 3 children. That was Cheryl, Christy, and Danny. And Cheryl was already expired.
These children would gradually lose consciousness, they would be experiencing pain, and their blood pressure would gradually drop.
Meanwhile, police try to find the killer. Detective Doug Welch joins the manhunt.
The first 48 or 72 hours is extremely critical because that's when your evidence is going to be most available.
Taken straight back to the crime scene, Diane tells police what happened.
Diane was driving down the road in this direction. And about where I'm standing, she said a stranger appeared and flagged her down. She stopped her car, stepped out with the door open, and said, "What's the problem?" He replied, "I want your car." She said, "You've got to be kidding." At which time, she claims that he pushed her aside, leaned in the vehicle, and shot the children. She claims to have faked throwing her car keys off into the field. He fired the weapon and struck her in the left forearm. She then pushed him away and jumped in her car and, according to her version, roared off down the road to the hospital.
Back at the hospital, 8-year-old Christy Downs could easily become the second fatality. She was shot in the neck.
This is WKBS News. A shocking crime took place last night. 3 children and their mother.
And next morning, Springfield wakes to the shocking news.
I heard on the radio that a woman and her children had been shot on Old Mohawk Road.
Ann Jager was a local news reporter.
So this was so aberrant that I wanted to figure out what happened and get to the bottom of it.
Everyone wanted answers, and police thought the eldest of the 2 surviving children, Christy, could help. But a stroke leaves her temporarily speechless. Then, something strange happens when Diane visits Christy. Christy seems terrified of her mother. Then Diane suggests something extraordinary.
He said, "You know, doctor, I think you need to pull the plug on her because I know she's brain damaged." Well, I said, "No, we don't know that she's brain damaged. We've not even tested her." And that was striking to me, absolutely striking.
When Detective Doug Welch hears this, he's not entirely surprised. By now, he's seriously doubting Diane's story.
Moms don't stop for strangers in a dark country road with 3 little ones in their car.
Over the coming weeks, the real Diane Downs slowly emerges. Police discover her husband left because she was a flirt. Diane had quite a reputation at the Postal Service in Arizona, where she'd worked months earlier.
Diane would become attracted to a man she met very, very quickly and become sexually involved very, very quickly, and appeared to use sex as a predominant way to hang on to a man.
I think she was fairly neglected as a child. So, over the years, I think she probably started looking for attention in inappropriate ways. You know, when she became of age and found that men were interested in her, it was intoxicating.
Her past and her behavior since the shooting has Detective Welch thinking Diane may not be a victim.
She enjoyed having relationships with married men. I think the control factor there was important to her. On a number of occasions, she would start telling us about her boyfriend in Arizona and what a great guy he was and how much she missed him and how she wanted him to join her in Oregon.
No, you listen to me. I had enough.
But Diane's boyfriend had no intention of moving to Oregon.
What?
He told her it was over. He was going back to his wife. But Diane wouldn't accept it. She keeps writing seductive letters.
Mom.
Her obsession
Mommy. Go to bed.
was becoming a fatal attraction
Go to bed.
for those who simply got in her way. Running afoul of a woman with a fatal attraction doesn't just happen in modern times. History bears out that hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
The meek may inherit the earth. They certainly get the hell kicked out of them while they're here.
This is the story of Martha Wise.
Sometimes those meek strike back, and when they do, it isn't pretty.
In 1925, Martha would become Ohio's most notorious serial killer.
There's simply nothing like this before the Martha Wise case to give people any kind of perspective or inkling that this kind of thing is even possible.
Crime writer John Stark Bellamy II has documented more than 140 murders. But Martha's story tops them all. She tried to kill 21 people. It was a fatal attraction out of control by a woman nobody loved.
Of all the killers I've ever written about, the only one that I have any real sympathy for is Martha Wise.
Forensic psychologist and criminal profiler Candice DeLong thinks Martha was probably suffering from what is now a well-known illness.
It appears to me that she had bipolar disorder, which would certainly account for her crazy behavior throughout her life.
At her husband's funeral, Martha exhibits the kind of behavior the people of Hardscrabble, Ohio had come to expect. Even her family thinks Martha has a frail mind. They heard stories of Martha yelling in the street, burning down barns, and stealing random possessions.
Setting barns on fire, stealing, all these things that, well, frankly, if they happened today in even a small community, she would be picked up by the police and brought to a mental facility.
But small-town psychiatric care in the 1920s hardly existed. Many sufferers were simply exploited, abused, or both. Like Martha was, by her late husband.
Martha was a seriously abused and battered wife.
Stupid woman. She was a defective, unhappy person who was extremely badly treated just by virtually everyone in her life from the moment that she was born.
With her husband's death, Martha is free of matrimonial abuse. But with 4 children to raise, she needs support.
Let's not forget that for the 30 years prior to this, Martha was thought to be odd and weird. But what I don't doubt is that she got even crazier after he died.
Martha's troubled mind was spiraling out of control. She developed a new obsession. Inexplicably, she starts turning up at the funerals of strangers.
It is not common for someone to be obsessed with funerals and death, and the celebration or the mourning that goes along with the funerals and someone passing. That is an aberrant drive.
But 2 years after her husband's death, Martha's luck changes. She meets a man that she wants to marry. But her mother forbids it. Martha's suitor is married already, with 5 children.
Martha was not a stable woman, clearly mentally ill for most of her life. And Martha falls in love with someone, and her family is forbidding her from marrying him. Without question, this could cause tremendous resentment.
Soon, the family and Hardscrabble will regret their harsh treatment of Martha Wise. In the summer of 1983, the people of Springfield, Oregon were told a horrifying story of a single mom and her 3 children held up by an armed stranger who wanted their car.
What's the problem? I want your car.
When the mother, 28-year-old Diane Downs, refused, it ended tragically. One girl was dead, a boy feared paralyzed, and another girl critically injured. But within weeks, holes begin to appear in Diane's story, starting with the gunshot wound on her arm.
From the wound characteristics, it was clear that this was not a defensive type wound. If, for example, she was putting up her arm to try to ward off the bullet, the entrance wound would have been on the opposite side. The exit wound would have been on the side towards her.
TV reporter Ann Jaeger, like others, starts asking tough questions.
I asked her, I said, I just have one more question for you. Why would you put the towel around your arm, when your children are bleeding? She said, I thought that if I didn't save myself and I bled to death, that I wouldn't be able to save my children.
Detective Doug Welch has been suspicious all along. Now more and more evidence is mounting against Diane Downs. Her story about speeding to the hospital turns out to be just that.
There was a gentleman and his family that came up behind Diane. She is traveling so slow on this road that his speedometer wouldn't move off the peg.
She claims that she was driving like there was no tomorrow. She had to get her children there. She was taking her own sweet time.
She was waiting for the kids to stop choking and making noise and die.
Dr. Stephen Willite, the surgeon who helped save 2 of Diane's children, also develops serious doubts.
Now you just imagine your own mother, your wife, if they lost a child, they would be absolutely hysterical, out of shape, unconsolable, and just blown. She was not that way.
Diane even wants to pull the plug on her daughter. All the evidence begins to paint the same terrible picture, that Diane may have shot her children to save her failing love affair.
Lou! I don't care if it's got a tail, okay? Get out!
Common personality traits that we see in women who kill for passion.
No! Lou!
Very poor impulse control, inability to deal with problems over a long term, to resolve something in a healthy, mature way. It's just simply easier to do what they want to do and get the problem off the plate.
Police were moving in to arrest Diane on charges of murder, attempted murder, and first-degree assault.
Ultimately, the motive was to get that boyfriend. He didn't want to be a father. She saw those kids as a burden, and she had to get them out of the way.
Can you imagine what it would take to shoot your kids? Then have the willpower to shoot yourself, and then drive yourself to the hospital. That takes some guts.
Prosecutors allege Diane's emergency arrival at Mackenzie Willamette Hospital
Somebody's got my kids!
was an act.
Diane's very intelligent. I think she did a very good job maintaining her story and being consistent for quite some time.
But Diane's plan ultimately fails. There is a witness who can put her away for murder after all.
Christy, the daughter. And we needed Christy to get well enough to be able to take the stand and testify as to what happened.
Christy does get better. And finally, in court, tells the world her mom was the killer.
You know, it was just beyond sad. It was just so hard to listen to that child tell the truth with her mother sitting there looking at her. She did an amazing job.
Diane Downs is found guilty of all charges and sentenced to life imprisonment plus 50 years. In numerous unsuccessful appeals, Diane has always denied her guilt.
She's calculating, she's narcissistic, and I think she has some sociopathic tendencies as well.
Well, she's a sociopath for sure. She possessed the idea that because they're my children, I can do with them as I please. I could kill them if I want. She's in the right place now.
Some good finally comes out of the horror of that night. Young Christy and her brother Danny get a new chance in life with an adopted family who knows their story well. The prosecutor and his wife.
I think the thing that I like to think about the most is, not concentrate on the ugly, but the beautiful, is that because of that event, they had a life that they never would have had.
Some secrets are so shocking, people will kill to keep them. This murder has all the appearances of a straight crime of domestic violence. It is anything but.
This story came to light. It took all the oxygen out of the media room. It consumed all the stories in the newspapers.
It was an extraordinary case. It was definitely the case of the decade.
Australian criminal history recorded one of its most unusual cases at the turn of the 20th century, after Scotsman Harry Crawford arrives in Sydney. Like many new arrivals, he takes work wherever he can get it. But life is tough. Harry is barely scraping by.
For 10 years, he ranged around Sydney. He worked in meatworks, he worked in pubs, always fairly rough outside work.
Author Suzanne Faulkner has researched one of Australia's most scandalous murders.
I think if people got suspicious or things got difficult or people asked too many questions, he moved on because he had a lot of different jobs.
Harry Crawford keeps moving because he has a secret so shocking, he even keeps it from those closest to him, like his new love, 35-year-old Annie Burkett.
Harry Crawford hung around and was part of her life and convinced her to marry him.
Harry becomes stepfather to Annie's son. To the world, they are a typical family. No one ever suspects Harry is not what he seems.
He was a very inventive liar, and finding the actual truth about him was extremely difficult.
What Annie doesn't know is that Harry is living a lie. Every day when Harry returns home from work, his double life stares him in the face. His name isn't Harry Crawford. He isn't a Scotsman. Harry isn't even a man. He's Eugenia Fellini, an Italian woman. It's a secret he'll soon kill to protect. Concealing a dark secret in constant fear of discovery can drive a person to kill. As a married man, Harry Crawford has deceived everyone for decades. He's living a lie. Harry is really Eugenia Fellini, a woman living as a man, in a time when transsexuals are not tolerated.
Transsexuals were unheard of. I mean, the term hadn't been invented.
The mores and laws of society were certainly not what they are today. Living as the opposite gender would not have been accepted.
Eugenia can be discovered at any moment and thrown into jail as a deviant.
So what she was doing was actually quite dangerous, because if she'd been discovered, I think there would have been a lot of hostility.
Eugenia has even managed to fool Annie Burkett into marrying. But it's a fraudulent marriage.
The marriage was null and void, and it would have meant that Eugenia had committed some sort of offence by entering into a marriage.
Inconceivably, Annie Burkett has no idea her husband is a woman.
How did she pull that off in the bedroom? Whatever Eugenia had to do to make that work, she did it apparently for quite a while. Lights out, maybe never being seen naked in front of her partner.
He somehow managed to control the situation so that Annie Burkett never found out.
But Eugenia can't conceal her secret forever. After 4 years of marriage, Annie realizes she's been duped. She's devastated.
Annie had suddenly discovered the true gender of her life partner and was threatening to expose Eugenia as a woman.
Harry, being illiterate, being frightened, thought that he would probably be arrested and would have to go to prison.
On September 28, 1917, Eugenia takes drastic action to protect her dark secret. She takes Annie on a picnic in a secluded park.
I think Eugenia's motivation for killing was strictly practical. To save herself, her standing in the community, everyone's belief that she was a man, and to protect her own identity.
Sometime during the afternoon, Eugenia smashes Annie over the head with a bottle.
I think what she did then was panic.
The right blow to the head, at the right place, at the right time, can cause immediate unconsciousness. It is difficult to cause immediate death by blunt force injuries to the head.
Eugenia makes a horrifying miscalculation. Annie isn't dead.
Whilst she was still alive but unconscious, her body was thrown onto a campfire.
Eugenia is trying to get away with murder.
Many people believe, usually wrongly, that they can burn a body either beyond recognition or all evidence can be destroyed, evidence of a crime.
Annie's body is not destroyed. It's found, although not identified. News of the mysterious death hits the papers. Now the biggest threat to Eugenia's secret is her victim's son, who is asking too many questions. In a strange coincidence, his first name is also Harry, Eugenia's male name.
The lies became more and more complicated. With Annie Burkett out of the way, there was only one other obstacle to Harry Crawford remaining Harry Crawford, and that was young Harry Burkett.
Eugenia takes the boy to a notorious suicide spot.
Come on, Harry. Come on and look at the view.
She tries to lure him to the edge. Harry hangs back.
Come on. It's a great view. Come on, Harry. Come on.
It saves his life. Eugenia can't bring herself to wrestle him over the edge.
She had the intention, but she didn't seem to have the will. I think the fear and panic weren't enough to drive her to kill young Harry.
Eugenia's dark secret remains hidden for another 3 years.
Harry Crawford, having murdered Annie Burkett, then went on to marry another woman and was actually married to her for something like 12 months before he, I use the term he loosely, he was arrested by the police and charged with the murder of Annie Burkett.
Police finally caught Eugenia after her victim's body was at last identified, and young Harry's suspicions were confirmed. On July 5th, 1920, Eugenia Fellini is charged with murder.
Of course, Eugenia just became a freak show. There were headlines in the papers, the man, woman, monster, pervert, freak, with all sorts of salacious details being hinted at.
Eugenia pleads innocence, but on October 6, 1920, she's convicted of murder and sentenced to death. But she is spared execution and released after 11 years in prison. Her secret finally revealed, Eugenia would live the rest of her life as a woman. Of all America's deadly women, there is one who stands out.
Eileen Wuornos was the first female predatory killer that the FBI had ever seen. Female predatory killers are very rare.
She becomes known as the monster for a reason.
To actually go out and kill strangers, I think that it's enormously frightening to men. The idea of being with a woman who suddenly can do that is quite frightening.
Eileen Wuornos works as a prostitute, plying her trade on the highways of Florida. The endless parade of vehicles provides plenty of opportunities and plenty of risk.
It's a very dangerous profession. You're only one trick away from getting robbed, raped, killed.
No one knows how often Wuornos herself was a victim. But in the winter of 1989, she turns the tables and starts a killing spree that stuns the nation.
What do you want from me? Please, lady, just let me go.
Shut up!
Oh, please, let me go, lady.
This is where we found the body. He was just a few feet off this paved road into this cul-de-sac.
Homicide detective David Taylor was called to one of the murder scenes. It's one of many. Eileen will kill 7 men before she's caught.
When you have someone shot multiple times, you're looking at some highly charged emotional stage. You're looking at a lot of hate and some revenge. A lot of people may use the term overkill.
Eileen's victims were shot multiple times with a .22 caliber pistol. They are robbed of their money and their cars.
I came to believe, over a period of time, that each of the murders was precipitated by something that triggered enormous fear of abandonment in Eileen.
Writer Sue Russell has studied Eileen's crimes like few others. While the media have speculated Eileen killed because she hated men, Sue thinks her main motive was very different.
She killed when she felt desperately under threat and stress. Her fears of abandonment went off the scale through the roof.
In her early 30s, Eileen is in a long-term relationship with Tyria Moore.
In the case of most of these killings, there was money. The men had money. And according to Ty, she would come home with this money and she would wave it around and say, we're going to party, we're going to have a good time now.
The proceeds of murder become Eileen's insurance policy.
Check it out.
Scared of losing Ty to other women, Eileen uses the money to keep her affections.
I think she thought that she could buy Ty's continuing presence in her life.
Oh, baby.
What had always been her modus operandi, to try to buy friendships, buy love, buy people in her life. Very sad, really, when you think about it.
Eileen, the monster, has been buying attention for a long time. After being abandoned by her parents and going to live with her grandparents, she craves it.
There was allegations of sexual activities and sexual abuse. If you start from the time that she was just a young child, she just didn't really get that fair shake in life.
Children that suffer maternal deprivation in their early years, the chances of them having something profoundly wrong in adult life is great. It's probably 35 to 40%.
Even before she reaches her teens, Eileen is on her own, living rough in the woods, where she learns dangerous habits of survival.
By 11 or 12, she was taking money for sex.
She became pregnant as a very young child. She was actually given up to a home for unwed mothers.
She was thrown out of the house, essentially. So she was on her own at a very early age.
A young Eileen uses what she knows. She sells her body to survive.
And that's when the neighborhood there started taunting her, you know, saying, well, you're nothing but a hoe and stuff like that.
Shut up!
She went off on everyone, you know, and they went off right back at her.
Dawn Botkins was there in the early years. She was one of Eileen's few friends.
She just wanted to be part of everything with everyone, just sit and drink and smoke.
Wake up!
And be happy and listen to the music. They just would never give her a chance, and I just don't know why.
The monster is shunned and ridiculed. The more she's hurt, the more she strikes back.
She had this explosive temper.
I'll kill you!
Which made her extremely difficult to be around and made friendships very difficult.
But in the years to come, Eileen will find the love of her life, the answer to her happiness. But to keep her, she'll stalk the Florida highways and use the weapons she's honed to perfection, her body and her rage. Eileen Wuornos has been a prostitute for more than 20 years. In 1989, she's working the highways of Florida, risking assault to make a living. But now she's found a more lucrative activity: murder.
So she was a robber who killed. She said in her confession that she did not want to leave any witnesses.
The money is a show of affection for Eileen's long-term partner, Tyria Moore.
She clung to what she knew, which was, let's try and buy the continuing presence of this person. Let's try and buy the love. Let's try and keep them in my life. The only way she knew how to do it.
But after each murder, the money inevitably runs out. And in Eileen's mind, there's a chance she'll lose Ty. She needs to kill again.
Eileen is not really the classic predator in that it doesn't appear that she would stalk her victims. And she didn't kill every John that she serviced as a prostitute. She killed one here, she'd see a few other men.
When she does kill, Eileen takes no chances.
These are very atrocious murders. These were males, some were much larger than her. They had been shot multiple times. You have one victim that was shot 9 times. Tremendous rage.
This ferocity suggests something to criminal profiler Candice DeLong. The killings may have also been driven by something more than money.
There has to be more than that to take a life. I think for Eileen, at some point, she enjoyed it. She didn't need to kill these people to get what she wanted. And that's probably because she felt fine doing it. She had no sense of remorse.
After each murder, more tragedy, as families wait for loved ones who never come home.
You can see the pride that I have being next to him.
Letha Prater is the sister of Eileen's fourth victim, Troy Barres. He wasn't even a customer. He just stopped to give Eileen a lift.
His wife called me about, I guess, 10 o'clock and said, Troy hasn't come home yet. And it's not like him not to come home or call. And I hung up the phone and I just knew it was bad. We looked and looked and everything that we could possibly think of, but we didn't go down that little road where he was found.
Barres had been shot twice, once in the back and once in the chest.
All these years have gone by that I haven't had him and had his company and had his friendship. It caused my mother to die earlier than her time. He was her baby and she couldn't handle the thought that she had to bury her child. People say it gets better. Didn't get better for her, it got worse.
By now, police suspect a connection between a string of highway murders. Their break came from a small traffic accident Eileen and Tyria had in a car stolen from one of the victims.
We reference back to a case that occurred in 1990 in this county. That involved a motor vehicle that had wrecked. 2 females were seen leaving that vehicle.
That lead took them to Daytona Beach, where Eileen Wuornos was already known to local detectives.
This detective says, hey, I've seen the composites. I think that there could be 2 females from my jurisdiction.
The trail ended at a local biker bar, the last resort. Cannonball was a bartender who knew Eileen.
She said, my name is Lee and this is my girlfriend Ty, and we're gay. And I said, well, my name's Cannonball and I don't care. Pay for your drinks, don't cause me no trouble, and everything will be good.
But the net is closing in on Eileen. Undercover officers eventually arrest her right outside the Last Resort bar.
The day she got arrested, she made the 8 on the break, which means you win a pool game in 1 shot. That's a pretty lucky thing. I guess it run out after that, though.
Police hold her in the Volusia County Jail on a minor charge. But they need more evidence to convict her of murder. So they play their trump card.
I don't think that Eileen ever thought Tyria would betray her. I think she did trust her totally. But when the chips were down...
Police secretly track down Tyria Moore and convince her to work with them.
We had agents, with Tyria Moore. We would have things that would be scripted out, the questions were written down on a piece of paper.
Eileen, I'm scared.
Ty began to say, look, they're after me. They think I did it.
They have to have seen the car.
She said, I'm not going to let them do this to you. If I have to, I will confess. And indeed she did.
I'll take care of it, all right?
There were quite a few admissions that were made that we actually used to further our belief that, yeah, no doubt she was the one involved in these murders.
Betrayed by the one person who ever really cared for her, Eileen pleads guilty, receiving 6 death sentences. She lives on death row for almost a decade. With few other friends, Eileen becomes an obsessive correspondent with childhood friend Dawn Botkins.
She wrote every day for 11 years, and sometimes I got 11 letters in one day. People are starting to see there was quite a human being there that nobody helped out. The state didn't help out, the neighbors didn't help out. Nobody helped out. She could have been great at anything, but everybody automatically just dissed her.
Eileen may have been denied her full potential, but so were her victims. Her misery spread to 7 families.
I was glad they got her, but I was just so full of despair and hate and fury and the thought that one person, one woman could change the life of so many people.
On October 9, 2001, Eileen is executed by lethal injection.
Anyone can be a killer. It's about making choices. She made choices to kill.
Don't look up to Eileen. Just understand why she did what she did.
She did kill in a cold-blooded fashion. But I still feel some empathy for the little girl who never had a chance.
Sometimes bad medicine can flourish where it is least expected.
When I graduated from medical school, I took the Hippocratic Oath. I swore to do no harm.
It can hide in plain view.
You don't expect a killer to be in the environment where nurturing is the nature of the business.
As it did in England, in the Grantham Hospital Children's Ward in 1991.
It was incomprehensible. Incomprehensible.
23-year-old nurse Beverly Allett is a star on Ward 4. Parents want her to monitor their sick children because she seems to have a sixth sense for danger. She's always there when trouble strikes.
Arrest! Code red! Code red! Arrest!
I was the staff nurse working on the wards. Beverly came to work with us as an enrolled nurse to help us care for the children.
In 1991, Mary Reet found herself on the front line of bad medicine. There was a spike in emergency incidents in her ward as children on the mend were suddenly dying.
At first, we thought maybe there was some kind of infection that we couldn't identify that was causing the problems.
Mary would later discover she was working with a serial killer. But at the time, she was concentrating only on saving lives.
One particular evening, I was on duty, and Beverly had gone to feed the baby, Patrick Alston. He was a tiny wee fella. He was about 9 weeks old.
Hi. There's something wrong with Patrick.
She called me to say that he had stopped breathing.
Oh, he's arresting. Code red! Dr. Bingham, code red! Is Patrick here?
Make sure to find out what milligrams.
Sure.
We resuscitated him successfully. And he was making nice progress, doing really well, and was no cause for concern.
Mary Reet had no idea Nurse Allett had made an unsuccessful attempt to suffocate baby Patrick. Later that evening, she strikes again.
Arrest! Code red! Arrest!
This time, baby Patrick stops breathing.
So again, we resuscitated him. This time he was evacuated to the intensive care unit because obviously, although we'd resuscitated him, he was quite sick.
Eventually, Mary learns the true horror of that night.
I realized that we had saved him the first time, but then we put him in danger's way again. I still struggle with that. She had another go at this tiny baby. I'm sorry.
Baby Patrick suffers permanent brain damage. There's no shortage of new victims for Nurse Allett, as unsuspecting parents hand over their children. By April 1991, the hospital knows something's wrong in Ward 4. They count 25 suspicious incidents. Investigator Neil Jones is called in to look for unnatural causes. One incident he investigated still haunts him today.
Becky Phillips was on the ward with diarrhea. Nothing more serious for that, and she was due to go home. And before she went home, she was fed by Beverly Allett.
But food isn't the only thing Nurse Allett administers to Becky. She injects her with insulin.
When you have an insulin overdose, there's no sugar or fuel available for any of the cells in the body to use. And as a result, the body starts to shut down. First the brain, and then the heart, and then the rest of the body.
Her parents, thinking Becky is well again, take her home.
And when she got home, she became sweaty, clammy, irritable. They couldn't do anything with her. They rang for the ambulance. It was slow in coming.
At 3 a.m., 5-month-old Becky dies in her parents' arms. Later, an autopsy will reveal the shocking truth.
She had something like 9,300 millimoles of insulin within her body. And unfortunately, Becky had gone home, so they couldn't treat her, they couldn't give her sugar, and she died.
It was unheard of for a nurse to do this. It wasn't thought of. Nobody thought that it was a possibility, and so we didn't look for it to be one of us.
Becky has a twin sister, Katie. To avoid losing another child, the parents book Katie into Ward 4 as a precaution. They have no idea Beverly has killed one daughter and now has the other in her hands.
Code red! Dr. Bingham, code red!
Katie Phillips' twin sister died just days earlier. And now, in Children's Ward 4, at England's Grantham Hospital, the 5-month-old baby is fighting for her life.
Over the next 4 days, Katie had 4 relapses, and she was found unconscious, usually in the arms of Beverly Allett.
Nurse Beverly Allett is the children's savior in Ward 4.
Parents were asking for her to actually sit with our children because she was the one that was raising the alarm.
But little do they know, parents are consigning their children to death or serious injury.
I baptize you, Katie, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Katie Phillips is now permanently brain damaged due to lack of oxygen. But incredibly, her attacker is asked to be her godmother. A tribute to the heroic nurse who saved her life.
When someone's child is in a life-threatening situation, they're very vulnerable, and a nurse or caretaker can seize that opportunity to ingratiate themselves and feel good about the role they're playing.
And this, investigators would uncover, is what drives Beverly Allett. a need to be loved and respected, a diagnosed medical condition.
Munchausen by proxy is a condition wherein the individual hurts someone else to gain attention for themselves. People go into this profession that suffer from Munchausen or Munchausen by proxy because it gives them access to victims.
And in England's Grantham Hospital Children's Ward, Beverly has easy access to helpless victims.
She was almost frenetic about her attacks. There was no cooling off period. She would attack on the average of every other day that we know of. Probably more attacks than that. So this was a frenzy of attacking and killing, which is unusual for a female serial killer.
But once police are called in, Nurse Allett's 2-month reign in Ward 4 begins to disintegrate. Even though she is held above suspicion by the staff and grateful parents, cold, hard forensics expose her bad medicine. Autopsies show lethal traces of insulin in victims. Some have potassium too, from unauthorized anesthetic shots. Other tiny bodies have fractured ribs and internal bruising from being squeezed or suffocated.
Beverly was clever enough to put some thought and planning into how she was going to kill. She might use a particular drug on one child and a totally different method or drug on another.
And there was one common link through every death or injury: Beverly's appearance as the apparent savior.
I think now there was 21 or 23 nurses who were involved on the ward, and of all the cases, only Beverly Allett was present.
Beverly Allett is charged with the murder of 4 children, the attempted murder of another 3, and inflicting grievous bodily harm on a further 6 children. Found guilty on May 28, 1993, she is sentenced to 13 concurrent terms of life imprisonment.
What bothers me most when medical professionals use their privilege and misuse the trust that's placed in them to cause damage to others. It casts a pall over all of us.
I suspect it's made parents more wary of us and more nervous about trusting us to look after their children.
It says a lot about the inability of our medical system to really know their practitioners well enough. That's probably the scariest part of the story.
The deadly power of a twisted mind is made shockingly clear on Wednesday, October 30, 1985. The day before Halloween, on the outskirts of Philadelphia at the Springfield Mall.
People at first weren't sure what was going on. This was the day before Halloween, mischief night. So a number of people thought this was some sort of a Halloween prank. You know, someone in a costume who was pretending, you know, to be a killer.
But 25-year-old Sylvia Seacrest isn't pretending. She's on a rampage.
It's the sort of crime that touches people right where their fears are. Could this happen to me while I'm out shopping? This one stood out because it occurred in a public place, and it was perpetrated by a woman.
Philadelphia Inquirer journalists Reed Cannelly and Russell Eshelman dissected the 4 deadly minutes when a crazed shooter let loose on Springfield Mall.
The scene that day was sort of a mixture. At first it was confusion, and then it was chaos.
A person dressed in fatigues jumped out of that car with a rifle and began shooting at people.
The first person that she took a shot at, she missed him.
Immediately after him was a woman standing at an automated teller machine. She was not hit.
Sylvia is firing a .22 caliber rifle from the hip.
Initially, witnesses thought they were looking at a male because of the way the person was dressed.
She's hardly aiming when she hits her first victim. 2-year-old Receive Cosman is hit in the chest.
The effect of a .22 caliber projectile on an infant's body would be devastating, particularly to the heart and the lungs. It's going to immediately perforate those organs and cause massive internal bleeding.
Receive would later die.
At the time, I was a young father and had young children, and so, when I look back on that, thinking, that could have been us, I think that's when it sort of hits you. Once she got into the mall, it was, again, more chaos. She just came in firing indiscriminately. They were diving behind racks of clothing. They were running into the rears of stores.
The shooter continued inside to fire bullets and struck 7 more people.
As the horror of what's happening sinks in, some store owners realize the shooter is no stranger.
There were reports of her having shown up at the mall in days before the shooting and actually marching up and down in front of stores, in front of the doors.
She would go into the Springfield Mall, some clothing stores there, and she would complain to anyone who could hear her how bright the colors were, and these bright colors bothered her. So she was just a bizarre character who had actually, I guess, scared a number of people on previous occasions.
Those who knew Sylvia Segrist knew she had an obsession with the military. Many also suspected Sylvia was mentally ill, something the Army had already discovered.
She had been discharged from the Army earlier that year. She had joined the Army, and apparently the Army had recognized that she was not right in her mind and had discharged her.
Apparently, several times she had to be escorted out of malls and places like that because of her behavior. She would be muttering to herself, and she'd be using obscenities.
For those who study the human mind, Sylvia's condition is well known.
Schizophrenia is a very serious mental condition characterized by the individual not being able to perceive reality as it really is. When a schizophrenic is talking to themselves, they're really responding to the voice in their head. The voices are generally not nice. They don't say, "You look pretty today." They may say, you're an evil person, and if you don't kill your neighbor, you're gonna go to hell.
Sylvia had been diagnosed with schizophrenia 10 years earlier. She suffered regular delusions, but often refused to take the medication needed to keep them at bay. Although her mother tried, she couldn't force her daughter to take medication.
Part of Sylvia's delusional system involved military power and control over people, and that she would be the one hurting other people rather than other people hurting her. When we look at her history, it could, I think, be foretold that she was going to commit some kind of violent act.
The time had come as Halloween approached.
She had been working up to this day for a long time.
Many people have schizophrenia, but they don't go on killing sprees. What set Sylvia off? And what would it take to stop her? At Springfield Mall, near Philadelphia, a diagnosed schizophrenic and military fanatic is randomly shooting customers with a .22 caliber rifle.
It appeared that she took no notice of any characteristics of people to decide whether they were going to be shot at or not. She just shot.
25-year-old Sylvia Segrist appears delusional. She is muttering, probably answering voices inside her head.
She was firing indiscriminately. She was firing oftentimes from her hip. She was not aiming the rifle per se.
Sylvia's next victim is senior citizen Ernest Trout. He is shot 3 times and will die in hospital.
I don't think it was, that she had been picking on senior citizens or anything at the time. I think that just happened to be people who got in the way of her bullets.
Sylvia is both out of control and perfectly in control. She is on a mission. But as she kills her next victim, 64-year-old Augusto Ferrara, the question in everyone's mind is, what is she trying to achieve? The answer would only be revealed when the shooting stopped. Sylvia was driven by a particular type of schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia.
Paranoid schizophrenia is a type of schizophrenia in which their delusions center around the fact that they are being persecuted, that people are after them.
Sylvia has been in and out of mental hospitals for years, and she fears her mother wants to send her back. She's also been refusing to take her medication.
They're very suspicious of medication. They're suspicious of anyone trying to get them to take medication.
She feared that her medication was hurting her. She feared that her family was out to get her and to hurt her and to send her back to a hospital.
So Sylvia's delusional rampage had a motive. It was also her ticket to a better life in prison.
She decided, for whatever reason, that the hospital was worse than prison, and that in her twisted state of mind, she would do something to go to prison instead of to the mental hospital.
Sylvia was finally stopped by the most extraordinary accident. 24-year-old grad student John LaFour mistook Sylvia for a prankster. She was getting on his nerves.
He just walked up to her while she was firing, took the gun from her. He had told her at the time, "You picked the wrong person to mess with." And it was only later he realized this was the real thing. This was somebody who was shooting real bullets.
John was an accidental hero, but his intervention was enough to break through Sylvia's delusion.
That was probably the first moment of reality she'd had in quite a while. What he was saying to her at the time brought focus on reality, even momentarily, and she was able to put the gun down and stop.
Sylvia Segrist is found guilty, but mentally ill, on 3 counts of murder and 7 attempted murders. She serves 3 life sentences.
She's not getting out. Pennsylvania makes it very difficult for people who are convicted of homicide to get out of prison in any kind of situation.
I could not help but feel some sympathy. I had an uncle who suffered from schizophrenia and paranoia. I felt that I understood the troubled mind that produced the sorts of actions that she did. Not excusing it at all. She suffered great remorse for it then and perhaps even now.
Sylvia's insanity took 3 lives and shattered many others. Despite a history of mental illness, she was free to buy a gun.
Sylvia Segrist was able to purchase a weapon. When was asked if she had had any history of mental illness, simply checked no on the form. Was able to purchase a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle for $104. No problems whatsoever.
Even Sylvia herself criticized her ability to buy a weapon.
She wrote from prison to political leaders, to senators, then President Clinton, in letters sometimes describing what she had done and saying, I shouldn't have been allowed to get this gun.